So Labour's £28 billion per year investment in environmental projects was desperately needed, according to Keir Starmer, on just Tuesday of this week. Now, though, in their latest U-turn, they've slashed it to under £5 billion a year.
Let's bring in Shadow Secretary of State for Business and Trade, Jonathan Reynolds. Well, good to speak to you this morning. It's not an easy morning for you to come and speak to us, is it? Because you know what we're going to ask. Another U-turn. And what's left of the confidence that anyone can have in Labour on their green policy and other issues right now?
Well, look, our ambition is very much the same, but what we have said in this announcement is we've got to take heed over change of economic circumstances. So specifically when that initial pledge, that sum of money we all talk about, was made, interest rates were at 0.1%, they're now at 5.25%. So that has an impact on how much you can borrow. It also has an impact on what you're spending on the government's debt interest. Similar to that, we've seen the current Chancellor do things like take the receipts from higher inflation, the higher tax receipts, and spend them rather than put that towards public services that then have higher costs. So you have to react to these circumstances. But I would say, if you look at the core of what Labour has confirmed today, it is the most ambitious policy on industrial strategy, things like green steel and good jobs for the future any government has ever had. It is the most ambitious on warm homes and tackling fuel poverty any government has ever had. It's got major new institutions like GB Energy, so a new publicly owned company working with the private sector to deliver on a whole range of new technology. So there's a huge amount of ambition there. But yes, we have to take heed of what the economic circumstances are. That's just the reality.
But just to come, robustly delivered, by the way. And, you know, what else can you say? But when you say you have to take heed of the change of circumstances, you're talking about Sir Keir Starmer saying it on Tuesday. So either the heed needed to be taken earlier or maybe it was a bit late.
Well, look, we had said, and I think it's important to stress this, that all of our ambitions, of course, had to meet our own fiscal rules. And you don't know until you get to an election year what the economic situation will be that will affect
That's a problem,
how much
though,
you can
because
spend
if you don't know, and if you can't calculate, and you still got ambitious plans, but are now not sticking to that money to deliver them, you can see how confidence is shattered.
Well, I think what people want are plans you can deliver. And look, any person in this country who is or has had to, redo their fixed rate mortgage in the last few months will know you'll not get the same rate you had when you initially got that deal because the circumstances have changed. Businesses are in exactly the same position. So you do have to reflect this. But we got into a situation, to be frank, where I think the actual sum of money people were talking about more than what you would want that to deliver. And what I want to be able to come on and say is, well, what I want to be able to come. Well, the attention was all on the sum of money, whereas what it should be about is about warm homes, hydrogen, carbon capture and storage, floating offshore wind, the things that we need to do that. And we can deliver on all of that, but we've had to make sure we can put forward both the way and the timescale those can be progressed on and how you'll pay for them.
The difficulty is, when you say you can deliver on all of that, is this credibility and trust that people will have. I think it was June last year that Ed Miliband, the Shadow Climate Secretary, tweeted, "Some people don't want Britain to borrow to invest in the green economy. They want us to back down. But Keir, Rachel and I will never let that happen. Britain needs this £28 billion a year plan. That's what we're committed to." Admittedly, that was a number of months ago. But already that has been rubbished because that's not what you're doing. And then, as Kate mentions, and lots of people contact us when they hear about Keir Starmer and the U-turns that you've done, there's been a number over the last few years on the wealth tax, on tuition fees, on private schools with regard to their charitable status, on nationalisation. Just recently, Keir Starmer said public service should be in public hands, support common ownership of the rail, of mail, of energy and water. And then, of course, that changes in 2022. So when Kate talks about people having confidence in what Labour are going to deliver, we don't know what you're going to deliver because give it 5 months and you could change your minds.
Look, let me take all of that. First of all, we are still making the case to borrow, to invest, to deliver good jobs and tackle climate change. That's at the heart of these plans. You referenced a tweet from a colleague from a few months ago. The cost of servicing the government's existing debt is going to be forecast to be at least £20 billion more a year since the last forecast, which would date to that period. Now, we have to
That's what the Conservatives said. They said you wouldn't be able to deliver it, and you now are saying you can't deliver it.
And when your colleagues make these strident tweets, when they make these strident points and they say we will never back down, clearly he's had to back down, that you were left looking like you're fools because you've said, we're never going to change our position on this. Oh, actually, now we do need to change because the landscape's changed. That's always going to be the case. If you hang your hat on something like that, you've got to stand by it, surely.
Look, I don't know any walk of life, any business where you don't have to react to changing economic conditions. I mean, it would be a wonderful and pretty easy life if we could just say the cost of borrowing has gone through the roof following the mini budget and that Liz Truss disaster. Oh, that doesn't affect our plans. It does. And when you're in opposition, what the government does has a huge impact on what you potentially would inherit and how you can deliver those plans. I would say again, though, look at the heart of what Labour is putting forward today on clean homes, tackling fuel poverty, industrial strategy, new technologies of the future, new institutions to deliver it. That is all about that. And look, on some of those other things you raised, we're still committed to changing the taxation of private education to put that money into state education. We're still committed to ending the non-dom tax regime for the super rich and putting that money into health services and a few education services too. I don't think it is fair to say, going back to previous Labour commitments from previous leaders, there's been a change from that. I think if you look at what we put forward, but also said how we will deliver it, that is the test. And of course, as you get to a general election year, which we're now in, we have to be ready. We have to have a manifesto ready in case the Prime Minister calls an election tomorrow. And so you've got to refine at that stage your plans in terms of how quickly and how fast you can go on them. And that is what this announcement is about today.
So give us something clear. What does Labour stand for?
Well, Labour stands for ambition on net zero in a way that delivers good jobs and prosperity in all parts of the country. It stands for better public services, a stronger economy, tackling things like the lack of home ownership and not building things in the country, a genuine prospectus for better public services, better living standards in all parts of the country in a way that can be delivered.
But the Tories would argue that that's what they stand for as well.
Well, but we can look at their record and say this is the first parliament in history where living standards have declined, where the majority of British young people now live with their parents rather than rent or own their own homes, where the economy has grown at a rate which is disappointing by any historical standard, and where things like productivity have come off a cliff edge. I mean, you judge an incumbent government by their record, and that record isn't good. You judge the opposition by not just their plans, but can they really deliver them? And that is why we will never put forward anything which we don't think we can deliver. And I'd rather have to come on and say, look, we've had to change our plans at this stage than be, as previous Conservative Prime Ministers have been, promising things that they know cannot be delivered.
OK, we're going to have to leave it there. But Jonathan Reynolds, thanks for your time this morning.
Good to speak to you.